Welcome to the program, everyone. Let's get started. So let me talk to you like we were just catching up, okay? Because we've all had those nights where you have a drink or two, you feel fine, and then the next morning it feels like it has a personal vendetta to you. So I got tired of that, and I tried Z-Biotics. It is a simple probiotic that you take before you drink when your body breaks down alcohol, right? It creates this toxic byproduct that makes you feel rough. It does that in your gut. Well, Z-Biotics helps your body break that down so it doesn't build up. I took it before a long dinner recently. I had my usual cocktail. Actually, I did it over the Thanksgiving holidays. The next morning, I felt normal. And sometimes normal is just a difference between a good day and a wasted one. So if you want to try it, here's what I suggest. You go to zbiotics.com/lemon and you use the code LEMON for 15% off of your first order. They'll even refund you if it's not for you. So make it your first drink of the night, then you drink responsibly, and then you'll feel fine. So it is zbiotics.com/lemon and use the code LEMON for 15% off of your first order. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Don Lemon Show. Thank you very much. I am back home. Finally, my goodness, did I have a journey. I was delayed like 2 days in the airport. Not good, but I'm back. So thank you for joining us this morning. I'm happy that you are here. I hope that you are warm and snuggly because it is cold here in New York City. So thank you so much. There's been a lot of news that we're going to get to. Let me know where you are. The tea is good. Let me know where you are, where you're streaming from, where you are watching us from. If you're on an iPhone, a phone, a television, you know, more people watch us on the television than on phones. Just a little bit more. Interesting. But we do have a lot to discuss this morning. And it's very problematic stuff. So hit the like, hit the thumbs up. We appreciate you. Thank you for supporting us. Hello, New Jersey. Hello, Pueblo, Colorado. Hello, Michigan checking in. Hello, everyone. I forgot everything this morning. I'm a little bit off. We got in late last night. Good to see you back. Thank you. And it's good to be back. The doggies are here. I'm in my warm and snuggly, cozy studio. And so it's good to be home. And I hope you guys really had a great Thanksgiving. I did. I had a great Friendsgiving. Thank you very much for welcoming me back. Okay. And Charles, by the way, thank you to Charles Coleman. Did a fantastic job yesterday. Charles is really amazing. Oh, someone just said that. Yeah. So thank you. Hello, Montana. It is cold. All right. Look, guys, we're in a world of trouble. I hate to keep telling you guys that. I feel like a Debbie Downer every single day, but I've got to be honest with you and tell you like what the hell is happening in this world. What is going on in America? We're in a bad place right now, like a really bad place. I don't know how else to tell you and to put it to you. We're in a bad place. So this morning, I want to talk to you plainly. I want to talk to you. I want to do it without slogans and without the usual political back and forth, because what we learned over just the last 24 hours is not normal. It's not a normal Washington scandal by any means. It is not a policy disagreement or a partisan fight. It is a moral crisis that we're in right now. And if anyone tells you otherwise, they are lying to you. This is a moral crisis. This is a point of no return here in America. So what we've learned over these last 24 hours really in Washington and what is going on inside the Pentagon and the Department of Justice, as they call it, the Department of War, is a crisis that exposes exactly what happens when unqualified people are put in positions of enormous power. We have people who have been so averse to diversity, equity, and inclusion. This shows you what happens when you don't prioritize that, as they say, diversity, especially the diversity of thought, of people around you who are not just going to be yes people. The diversity of, let's say, education and position and wisdom and all kinds of qualifying things that are supposed to be qualifying things, but that are unqualifying things now, which has really gotten us in the position that we're in the moment. People who are in enormous positions of power, they are there because they are loyal to the president, or they're just willing to repeat whatever political message that he needs to hear. So I am talking about, in case you have any questions about it, I'm talking about Pete Hegseth, and I'm talking about the Defense Secretary of the United States. And that Department of War shit, that's out the door. I'm talking about the Defense Secretary of the United States. their definition, DEI unqualified. Some people call him a drunk. They have said that a drunk is leading the Department of Defense right now and leading us really into a quagmire internationally, an international scandal quagmire. I'm talking about a man whose only qualification for his job is being a Trump Fox News soldier who played tough guy on television. And I'm talking about the most serious allegation of unjustified killing by the United States in decades. The Washington Post, if we put it up now, reported that the United States launched a strike on a small boat in the Caribbean. That was back in September. And now look at the reporting now. The White House tries to help distance itself from the boat strike fallout. Hegseth, with the White House help, tries to distance himself from the strike fallout. That's the new reporting from the Washington Post. Originally, they reported that back in September, there was a small boat. Back in September, 11 people on board killed in a blast. At the time, we were told that these were drug traffickers. We were told that it was an operation in a very dangerous region. We were told that the threat justified the strike. All of those things. But that's not the whole story. The most important detail was kept hidden from us. And that important detail is this, that there were two people who survived the first explosion. They were in the water. They were injured. They were powerless. They were shipwrecked human beings. Okay. Now, they may have been doing some nefarious things. We don't know that because they're not being transparent with us. They were not fighting. They were not fleeing. They were not posing any immediate danger to anyone. And Pete Hegseth, according to sources familiar with this operation, ordered a follow-up strike anyway, a strike meant to leave no one alive. And that's the problem. Kill all of them is I believe the quote is, or kill everyone, something akin to that. Think about what that means. Kill them all. Hegseth ordered the first Caribbean boat strike. Officials say, kill them all. These men were not resisting arrest. They were not attacking. They were not able to do anything. They were clinging to debris in the water. And instead of rescuing them or detaining them and then going about due process, following the Constitution and the law, we fired again and they died, meaning America. There is no way to dress that up. There is no version of military doctrine or international law that allows a powerful nation like the United States to kill helpless survivors who can no longer fight. It's simply just not done. No matter how many times you hear this madness from people saying they should have suffered, like a Megyn Kelly, people with no morality. And just for an example, why don't we play Megyn Kelly talking about this? Now, I want you to keep in mind, Megyn Kelly is a very powerful influencer on the right, on the far right, on the MAGA right, crazy, lunatic influencer on the far right. But a lot of people listen to her. And I want you to keep in mind that Megyn Kelly calls herself an attorney. And this is what she says about the military code of justice. Remember all of those things that you're not supposed to do. But here it is. Take a look.
So I really do kind of not only want to see them killed in the water, whether they're on the boat or in the water, but I'd really like to see them suffer. I would like Trump and Hegseth to make it last a long time so that they lose a limb and bleed out a little. Like, I'm really having a difficult time ginning up sympathy for these guys who 10 seconds earlier almost got taken out by the initial bomb, but because they managed to get ejected, a little too soon, had to be taken out in the water. I realize legally it may make a difference, but truly, Mark, this is a tough case to really gin up the sympathies of the American people.
Yeah. Okay, she's an idiot. And I guess just now, just digging and scrounging for clicks, maybe, or I don't know what happened to her. I mean, she was always kind of a far right or just someone who was erratic and you didn't know, she was going to say, what kind of racist bullshit she was going to say. But this is like, we want to see them suffer. Legally, it might make a difference. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there's a difference between someone who is 15 years old in a boat and someone who's 4 years old. I don't know. There's no way to dress that up. There's no version of the military doctrine or international law that allows someone like us, as I said, a powerful nation, to kill helpless survivors who can no longer fight. There's no reading of morality that can explain this away as self-defense. There's no self-defense. And it is not, it shouldn't be about revenge. That tells you a lot about the right and the people who support the right and the people who are out there on the television or on the wherever in the spaces. This is the moment where you pause and you ask what we have become when the United States of America carries out executions from the sky and then tries to defend it as strength, and then tries to then we try to make excuses for it by saying, oh, I wish you would have some that you would have some I don't know, what's the word, some anger for people who are bringing drugs or sending drugs into America. That has nothing to do with it. If they are doing that, then they should be prosecuted or they should be taken out, but in the right way. You have to follow the rules. That's what this administration, and that's what people like Megyn Kelly, they don't understand now. For some reason, I don't know what happened to their brains. Inside the Pentagon, there is real outrage, anger that the civilian leadership is trying to shift blame to commanders who followed orders. There is fear right now that this operation has put service members at legal risk, because when an order is clearly unlawful, following it does not protect you from prosecution, which is what those 6 Democrats were trying to tell those service members. And now you see why. And that is a fact. And that is why senior military officials are speaking with urgency behind the scenes. They know that this crossed the line. And even still, the White House is still trying to make excuses for it, like one, Caroline Leavitt, who is still defending the decision or trying to clarify it. And no matter what she says, it still does not make sense. Here it is.
Regarding Venezuela, the president said yesterday that Secretary Hegseth had denied that second strike, the reported second strike on an alleged drug vote on September 2nd, the secretary said to the president that didn't happen. But to clarify, I just wanted you to clear this up. In his social media post, Secretary Hegseth didn't go into details about that strike. He just said U.S. operations in the area were lawful, and he said that the story and media reports were fabricated. So to be clear, does the administration deny that second strike happened, or did it happen and the administration denies that Secretary Hegseth gave the order?
The latter is true, Abe, and I have a statement to read for you here. President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have made it clear that presidentially designated narco-terrorist groups are subject to lethal targeting in accordance with the laws of war. With respect to the strikes in question on September 2nd, Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat to the United States of America was eliminated.
Okay, so again, hamina, all whatever, reading directly from a script. And what she's saying, the part that the administration is telling everyone, the White House, right now, trying to distance itself, telling everyone, hey, this was an admiral's call. That's what they're saying. They're saying that Hegseth simply encouraged an aggressive posture. What the fuck does that mean? Encouraged by saying kill them all, reportedly? That's encouraging an aggressive posture? They're saying that, hey, look, the lawyers approved it. Everything except the one thing that matters. That under any code that values human life, you do not kill people who cannot fight back. But yet, they still try to justify it. Caroline Leavitt again.
Jackie.
Thank you, Caroline. Following up on Gabe's question, you said that the follow-up strike was lawful. What law is it that allows no survivors?
The strike conducted on September 2nd was conducted in self-defense to protect Americans in vital United States interests. The strike was conducted in international waters and in accordance with the law of armed conflict.
And then on this pardon for the Honduran president.
Interesting. Now, I want you to remember that they denied that there was even a second strike. There is a reason that our military has rules. There is a reason that we train our officers in the laws of war. There is a reason for the Geneva Conventions that they even exist. They exist because what? Humanity learned the hard way that once you stop seeing people as human, once you stop following the rules of war and the rules of engagement, then you lose yourself. Then you start to lose your soul. Then it starts creeping in domestically, where you start rounding people up off the streets without due process and beating them up and abusing them. You lose the very purpose of having a moral code at all. Can't you people don't see that? You keep trying to justify it. Oh, I want to see them suffer. What is wrong with these people? What is wrong with these people? And by the way, I want you to just remember this. When asked, if we could play this quickly, when asked about it aboard Air Force One this weekend, the president really threw not only, well, he threw Pete Hegseth under the bus, but also himself, because I don't know, I have no idea. And then alluded to that there was no second strike. And then now they have to admit that there was a second strike. And the second strike is unlawful because they're in the water, but they're saying, okay, the lawyers approved it. Well, then who did it? All of these people are in jeopardy. Here's the president throwing Pete Hegseth under the bus and himself, and then also lying, or either just having no knowledge. Maybe there's a cognitive decline where he doesn't know. Somebody start to write a book, please, about his cognitive decline, because he should know. I mean, was this a mental auto pen approval of this process? Here he is.
Second strike that killed people in the first strike. Are you thinking that would be illegal?
I don't know that happened. And Pete said he did not want them. He didn't even know what people were talking about. So we'll look into it. But no, I wouldn't have wanted the second strike. The first strike was very lethal. It was fine, and if there were two people around, but Pete said that didn't happen.
Does that make
I have great confidence.
He's saying there's no second strike.
I don't know. I'm going to find out about it. But Pete said he did not order the death of those two men.
Do you have any concerns about how those boat strikes have been carried out at all?
Very little, because you can see the boats, you can see the drugs in the boats, and each boat is responsible for killing 25,000 Americans. So, and they're doing an amazing job. And we're getting. You just look at the numbers. The amount of drugs coming into our country by sea is infinitesimal compared to what it was.
Okay, all right. Quiet, Piggy. Enough. Pete said he didn't do it. Now, did Pete lie to him? Pete said there wasn't a second strike. Did he lie? Pete Hegseth should be gone. I mean, and I think Pete Hegseth is gone. Donald Trump will try to protect him because he needs to protect himself, and his poll numbers are terrible, whatever. This is where I want to zoom out, because this story is not only about a boat in the Caribbean. It's about what happens when our government elevates entertainers in positions of lethal authority, about what happens when loyalty is valued over competence. It's about what happens when ideology replaces training and experience. Okay? It's about what happens when someone sits in the chair that was once occupied by Robert Gates or George Marshall, and it treats it like a cable television set. Pete Hegseth knows nothing about rules of engagement, diplomacy, the Constitution, nothing. And if he does, he doesn't give a shit that he breaks it. Because remember what he said, he's already admitted, because this was back, I believe, during the time that it happened, or even after it happened. He's already admitting that they don't have to follow the rules. He said it himself. If this was a court of law, they would play this and the jury would go, boom, guilty, roll it.
We fight to win. We unleash overwhelming and punishing violence on the enemy. We also don't fight with stupid rules of engagement.
Did you hear that?
We untie the hands of our warfighters to intimidate, demoralize, hunt, and kill the enemies of our country. No more politically correct and overbearing rules of engagement. Just common sense maximum lethality, and authority for warfighters.
He's saying it.
That's all I ever wanted as a platoon leader. And it's all my E6 squad leaders ever wanted. Back to that E6 rule. We let our leaders fight their formations.
Tell on themselves.
And then we have their back. It's very simple, yet incredibly powerful.
They always tell on themselves. Give me the date of that, please. I'm going to zoom out and we're going to talk about what Pete Hegseth should be gone. And this gentleman who's going to join us in just moments wrote as much in The Atlantic, that Pete Hegseth should be gone. Tom Nichols joins us right after the break. So let me put something on your radar, because this is the last call for the Brickhouse Nutrition Cyber Monday sale. Everything on their site is 30% off. They make products like that people can really trust. Lean is their weight loss supplement that helps you lose meaningful weight without injections or complicated routines. They've also got creatone, which is a clean creatine made for women who want to feel toned and strong without changing their whole schedule. And then there is Field of Greens. That's their fruit and vegetable blend backed by real research that supports healthy aging and better daily nutrition. Every product on the site, sleep, support, collagen, everything is 30% off for the final hours of the sale. So if you want to take advantage, go to brickhousesale.com. That's brickhousesale.com. Last chance to save 30%, everyone. The Don Lemon Show is brought to you by the Freedom from Religion Foundation. And with Bill of Rights Day coming up on December 15th, it is a good moment to remember what real freedom really looks like. Freedom of speech, freedom of the press, and freedom from a government-imposed religion. And right now, those freedoms are being tested by a growing wave of Christian nationalism that is blurring the line between church and state. FFRF has been defending that line since 1978, making sure that everyone's rights are protected, not just the loudest voices in the room. So for this Season of Reason campaign, they're offering 20% off all FFRF merchandise and a 2-for-1 membership, so you can support the movement and share it with someone you care about. So visit ffrf.us/shop, do it by December 9th, and help protect the freedoms that belong to all of us. All righty, thank you, everyone, and thanks to our sponsors. Okay, let's bring in now Mr. Tom Nichols. I'm not sure if his cat is joining us this morning, but we love it when the cat joins.
She's around somewhere, Don.
And a contributor to the Atlantic Daily newsletter. And Tom, thank you. What's your cat's name again?
Lily.
Lily, that's right. Okay.
Lily.
Hi, Lily, wherever you are, meow. And I want to ask you, but I'm going to put up your word. Tom wrote a fantastic piece in the Atlantic about this, and it says Pete Hegseth needs to go now. And Tom, well, good morning. Welcome. I've been saying the same thing since I heard about this. I'm not sure if you heard what he said. I think this was in September 30th in Quantico. The strike was around the 15th or something, or the 2nd of September. I forget, it was pretty early in September. I think, yeah. The 2nd of September. This is something else that he said about that, I think, where he tells on himself. Roll it, please.
And what President Trump did was untie the hands of warfighters. He changed the rules of engagement, untied the hands of warfighters, and allowed them to complete their mission and crush ISIS. It has not just tactical implications, operational and strategic implications, how you allow warfighters to go about winning and fighting their wars. President Trump understands that, and within the laws of war and the Uniform Code of Military Justice, we are going to unleash warfighters to win wars so that wars don't drag on forever, as our generation has seen.
So are you rejecting...
let me hear what Angus King has to say.
42, I think, also has provisions that incorporate the Geneva Convention and the laws of armed combat. Are you saying that those laws should be repealed? That is the law of the land right now.
Senator, we have laws on the books from the Geneva Conventions into the Uniform Code of Military Justice. And then underneath that, you have layers in which standard or temporary rules of engagement are put into place. We fight enemies also, Senator, as our generation understands, that play by no rules.
Okay. Tom, they play by no rules. And that's so basically he's saying that we should play by no rules. So you can change the rules and they're temporary rules. And then the other thing where he says, we are not going to be, our hands are not going to be tied by stupid rules of engagement that I played just before you came on. This guy's an idiot. I'm sorry.
Well, and he doesn't know what he's talking about. I mean, he's answering Senator King's question. I mean, the guy is, Secretary of Defense. He was in the Army National Guard, although that, a lot of mid-grade officers don't really spend a lot of time having to think about international law. But if you want to be Secretary of Defense, yeah, you kind of do. And he just doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, we have temporary, that none of that is true. And what he's doing is, again, he's performing for an audience of one. He's saying to Donald Trump, look no further, Mr. Trump, I'm your man. I'll do the things you want me to do because I'm going to be tough and masculine and a war fighter and lethal and, gabba gabba hey. And it just doesn't, but this is what happens when you have somebody who actually, believes their own BS, and now is having to be called on the carpet for basically, in fairness, Don, we always have to say, if the facts are reported,
correct,
if the facts are true that are being reported, and I don't think there's any reason to doubt them, that he's guilty either of ordering murder or a war crime or both. And now it looks like yesterday, the new position is going to be to throw Admiral Bradley under the bus,
yes,
arguing that Admiral Bradley did this on his own. But let me tell you, I've worked with a lot of 3- and 4-star officers in my career. Those guys know what an illegal order is and what a war crime looks like. And I'm having a pretty hard time. Excuse me. I'm having a pretty hard time believing that a 4-star admiral said, went all Hans Gruber here and said, hit it again, unless he was doing so in accordance with an order from the Secretary of Defense.
Well, what I loved about your article is that it brought me back to the beginning of all of this. And you correct me if you think I'm wrong, Tom. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think we're living with the consequences of this DEI hypocrisy inside this administration. The loudest voices screaming about diversity and competence really are the same people giving jobs to their friends, to former television hosts like Pete Hegseth, to untested ideologues, to men and women, but mostly men, whose entire political identity is built on grievance and performance. And now those choices, quite possibly, as we say, if the reporting is correct, have led to dead human beings.
Right. Possibly innocent human beings too, which, and I want to emphasize, even if these guys were drug dealers, right, even if everything that the Trump administration said was true, and these guys had boats and they were full of fentanyl and they were, hoping to get to, from 1,400 miles away, they were hoping to get to some port near the United States. You still can't kill them. You cannot just execute them at sea. It doesn't work that way. But yeah, the original sin in all this are these people are completely unqualified. All of them, almost every appointee in this administration, it was chosen for loyalty and telegenic ability. Trump lives his life. Everything in Donald Trump's world is mediated through a screen. So when he sees you on TV, if you look the part, you get the part. As I've said many times, the part of the fanatical loyalty these people show is because he has given them positions that on no planet would they ever get without their loyalty to Donald Trump. That's why I call him, and I think I did it on your show once, I always call Donald Trump the patron saint of the third string. Mm-hmm. That this is the guy who takes, somebody that could never qualify and says, you're the new Secretary of Defense. You're my guy. And so, of course, Hegseth, it was bad enough that he was in way over his head. And of course, all of them are arrogant because they think the only person to answer to is the president. So they don't listen to their advisors. They don't listen to people around them. Hey, Pete, maybe, sending out classified military plans on an unsecured phone over Signal would be a bad idea. They don't listen. They think that as long as the boss, they have the ear of the boss, that's it. And, the country's paying for it now. And not just with Hegseth. I mean, there are going to be kids that are going to get sick because of RFK. There are criminals that are going to go free because at least 2 of Trump's attorneys, state attorneys, now have been ruled, to be illegally appointed. I mean, it just doesn't stop.
Well, Tom, look, the reason I have you on is because I think you're brilliant. But this piece, I think, is really, if you haven't read it in The Atlantic, everyone, I would really encourage you to go and read it in The Atlantic. And you start right up. You said presidents have always sent people to lead the Pentagon who respect the institutions and personnel of the armed forces, not least because Americans tend to bristle at any sign that an administration does not unreservedly support the men and women of the U.S. military. Just ask Bill Clinton and Barack Obama, both of whom were castigated for such supposed disrespect. In his first term, Donald Trump sent General James Mattis, a veteran of wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And then when Mattis quit, he appointed a long-serving defense professional, Mark Esper. But this time, the president found a perfect instrument of destruction to send across the Potomac. Pete Hegseth, a Trump sycophant, who served in the military, topped out at mid-level rank of major and left full bitterness and resentment toward a military establishment that clearly didn't value his brilliance and fortitude. Let me just read this one and then I'll give you the floor. The halls of the Pentagon are apparently strewn with rakes these days, and Hegseth has managed to step on almost all of them, including security blunders, needless fights with the press, and envious, unmanly whining about the medals on the uniform of Senator Mark Kelly, a veteran of higher rank and far greater achievement than Hegseth himself. Like Trump, Hegseth thinks his job is to get even with people he views as enemies. And then you go on and you talk about when he pulled in the 800 senior officials, which was completely disrespectful. But that's what this is. I believe a secretary of grievances. And that's how we got to this point.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a lot of these folks are, I used a couple of metaphors here. The kid in your high school, taking the angriest, most dysfunctional kid and then making him principal of his old high school. I mean, it's a way for them to unload all of their grievances about how they weren't valued. And, I'm sure Pete Hegseth walked around for years saying, if I were Secretary of Defense, tell you what I would do. And now he's doing it. The problem is that the kind of stuff that it occurs to a guy like Pete Hegseth to do doesn't really have anything to do with running the Defense Department.
Right.
Yes, PT and grooming standards are important. That's why you have sergeants and lieutenants, and ensigns who enforce that stuff. The Secretary of Defense should be concerned with geostrategic issues, international diplomacy, acquisition of new weapon systems, the budget of the biggest department of the most powerful military in the world. Hegseth is just, he's walking the halls of his old high school saying, zip that sweater up. Because he's juvenile. I mean,
where's your Letterman's jacket today?
Yeah, comb that hair, young man. You represent the football team. It's just inane. The problem is, it's okay to be inane if you're the Secretary of Agriculture. It's not okay to be inane if you are sitting on top of an incredibly powerful military force with millions of human lives at stake. Hundreds of thousands of people in uniform counting on you for their daily, their food and shelter and safety. And also, by the way, thousands of nuclear weapons.
Let me, if you will, I would like to get your response to some of the Washington Post reporting. I don't know if you saw it this morning. I'm sure you did. It is great reporting as well. It says, and the quote says, "This is protect Pete bullshit." One military official who, like others, spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss internal conversations told the Post. Leavitt's statement left it up to interpretation. Who was responsible for the strike, for the second strike that killed the 2 survivors? A separate military official said, imploring the White House to provide clarity on the issue. One official said of Clarity's statement, "It's throwing us, the service members, under the bus." Another person said, some of Hegseth's top civilian staff appeared deeply alarmed about the revelations and were contemplating whether to leave the administration. Where does this go from here? I mean, that's serious.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that come out of that. First of all, the notion that the Trump administration has really marketed itself as saying, we back the blue, right? We love cops and first responders and our beautiful soldiers. This administration, Trump and Hegseth in particular, both despise the military. They have nothing but contempt for the military for different reasons. I mean, I think for Trump, he's uncomfortable around people whose lives have been lived as lives of self-discipline and self-sacrifice. People of honor make him uncomfortable. He doesn't understand it. They are a reminder to him of what he is not. Hegseth is different. Hegseth is the guy who joined the army thinking, he was going to be Sergeant Rock, and then leaves full of bitterness. And they judged me, and they didn't like my tattoos, and I wasn't recognized as. I mean, he just left hating, like I said, the kid who hated high school. And so the idea that somehow, we'll protect the service members and we have their back was always bullshit. That was never going to happen. And Hegseth had no interest in actually doing anything. Again, I mean, he called those 800 officers into that auditorium. Why? To show that he could. That's exactly the kind of, sneering little boy that says, I know you're a 3-star general. You're going to come in this auditorium because when I was a major, you pushed me around, and now I'm going to push you around. So it's not a surprise at all that Hegseth would dump these people, anybody, under the bus. The second part is, I guess I have limited empathy when someone says, geez, maybe I ought to leave this administration. Well, you had 4 years of experience of what he does to people who work for him, and yet you came back in. And I mean, I understand everybody's got a mortgage, everybody's got to eat. And I will give the benefit of the doubt to several of the people at kind of lower levels of saying, somebody's got to make the government work while Pete Hegseth is putting up signs. But it shows, again, there is no safe zone in this administration. They take care of their own. This cabal, this claque of grifters, they take care of their own. And anybody else that gets in their way, they go under the bus.
I want you, if you just will grant me just a minute, I'd like to get a word in, and I have a couple more questions for you. Here's a word from our sponsors. Support for the show comes from Heat Holders, and if you run cold like I do, this brand is a lifesaver. Their thermal socks are the warmest that you can get. Independent lab tests say 7 times warmer than cotton, and I believe it. Okay, so this is crazy, but I'm wearing them now, just so you know. It's not just socks. They use the same warming technology in their hats, their gloves, their base layers, their pajamas, their blankets right here. So even their vest. That base layer has become my go-to when when it feels really cold outside, or I'm walking the dogs or whatever, and feels like the temperature outside is set for the North Pole. And they offer 3 different warmth levels, so you can choose exactly what you need. They've got more than 40,000 5-star reviews, which tells you people really trust the brand. So go to heatholders.com and use the code DON for 15% off and free shipping in orders of over $25. That's heatholders.com, and the code is DON. Warm and snuggly. So this time of year, everyone, always makes me think about traditions, the ones we grew up with and the ones we're still trying to create. One tradition I've been working on is taking real time to check in with myself. Therapy has helped me do that. It gives me space to slow down and end the year feeling clearer instead of carrying stress into the next one. So BetterHelp makes it easy. They match you with a licensed therapist based on a quick questionnaire. If the fit isn't right, you can switch anytime. And with more than 30,000 therapists, you can find someone who understands what you're dealing with. Everything is online, so it fits into your life without adding more pressure. So if you want to try it, go to betterhelp.com/DonLemon for 10% off of your first month. So take care of yourself this season. You deserve it. That's betterhelp.com/DonLemon for 10% off of your first month. BetterHelp. It's worth it. And thank you so much to all of our sponsors. Okay, so we're back now with Tom Nichols. Tom, I wanted to ask yourself this. If people in charge will kill 2 injured men in the water because, a television tough guy told them to, my question is, what else will they justify? What else are they going to call strength? I mean, what else will they decide is necessary, because once you cross that line and the line fades, and then this is where we are, I believe then that's where the line disappears, when you can do that. Now, listen, I want to bring someone in quickly now, because Tom, if you'll stand by. Retired U.S. Army Lieutenant General Mark Hertling is here. We're honored to have him. General Hertling, thank you so much for joining us. You're on with Tom Nichols from The Atlantic, as you know, a great writer there. And we have been
I didn't know you were going to have Tom Nichols with us. He owes me money, so I'm not sure I can be on the show.
How are you,
Wait
Mark?
a minute. Am I in the middle of a fight?
At the least, I think I'm behind on owing him a drink. So we're overdue, Mark.
Hey, Don, Tom is the greatest guy ever. We're friends, and we are simpatico in the way we see things, I think.
Well, two gentlemen who I really respect and admire, and I really miss working with both of you. So I'm glad that you're on now. Thank you so much for doing this. Tom, if you'll allow me, I'm going to have some questions for the general here. We have been talking about Pete Hegseth. Tom wrote this great piece in The Atlantic saying it's time for Pete Hegseth to go. If this is indeed true, the reporting, and we have no reason to believe that it's not, but still, if it is, do you agree with Tom?
I do, most certainly. I think we can't just say that offhandedly, Don. I think there's got to be an investigation. You know, there was a lot of chatter online last night about should he resign or should he be fired. I think he should be fired, but potentially after the facts come out, because there's a lot of things that are questionable in terms of his actions, how he's addressed this issue, even with I don't know what to call it. The immaturity online that he has posted is just not in the realm of what we expect of a major cabinet member controlling an organization that has over 3 million people in it. It's the biggest organization in government, I think, other than the VA. And it's just immature, some of the things he's doing. But it now comes down to this, where he had to have been involved in this. You know, I'll leave that to the determination of anybody that wants to investigate or question them. But even if he didn't give the order, he knew about it. And as I said on X yesterday, you know, if you're the senior to someone who's doing something illegal, and this was purely an illegal act, there's no doubt about that, and you don't do anything about it, you're just as culpable as the person that did it. So those are all the things that come together in this particular situation.
So let me ask you then, because they're saying that this is legal, that it had legal approval, and correct me if I'm wrong, are they throwing Admiral Bradley under the bus because they're saying that it was his order, or, you know, that he approved this, or Pete Hegseth approved it? I'm not sure what their justification is, but it seems to me that they're throwing Admiral Bradley under the bus.
Well, I'll comment, and then Tom can too, but I was on MSNBC or MS Now yesterday, and it was the first time I actually saw the press secretary's press conference where she said what she said, and my jaw dropped. And my initial thought, and unfortunately I said it on air, was they're throwing him under the bus. And what I found out later is that there's a lot of other people inside the Pentagon that are wearing the uniform that are saying the same thing. And yes, absolutely, she threw him under the bus, or the administration appears to be trying to throw him under the bus. Now, that, truthfully, Don, that may be deserved. He may have committed this act. Again, that's what an investigation and questioning by Congress will indicate or not. But you don't, when there's an open case like this, you don't immediately start either saying how people did things or what they did, or as Secretary Hegseth did later on that night, say, hey, I'm 100% behind the guy. Because in both of those cases, it's what the military calls in military law undue command influence. This guy falls within the secretary or in the Defense Department. So anything the secretary says now that it appears that there could be an open investigation is going to potentially taint the people who are looking at the legal ramifications of all this.
Tom?
Yeah, you know, the minute they say, listen, I'm 100% behind this guy, all I could think of was the scene in Goodfellas, you know, they come as your friends.
One of my
and
favorite
it seems
movies.
they come when you need them the most, right? The minute somebody says, I'm 100% behind this guy, that's when you can hear the bus kind of revving up. Because, and I can't speak to the military side of this. I worked on the Hill, and I've, done, but the civil military equation has two sides of it. So on the civil side, I'll say this: a Secretary of Defense who was a real man and a leader and who thought that what he did was right would step forward and say, it doesn't matter who issued the order. As far as you're concerned, I did, because I'm the Secretary of Defense, and it stops with me and the President of the United States. And who actually, pointed and gave the operational order is not the point. It's legal. We have the right to do it. I approve the mission. It's like he would take that on. That's his job, to be a leader, to take it on himself. And instead he's like, well, I don't know. Don't ask me. I'm only the Secretary of Defense. I think that guy over there was the one who flipped the switch. And then the president says, what's that? Don't know anything about it. Hadn't heard. Excuse me? The first strike we ever made on boats in international waters, and you're sitting here telling us now, yeah, I don't know, Pete said stuff. If you're going to do that, President should have been sitting right there during that first strike, watching this, because it's a qualitatively new chapter in American military action in the Caribbean. And all these guys said I think it was, and I'm not sure. And that guy, if the Secretary of Defense was a real leader, he would have said, listen, this was a DOD operation. I'm the head of the DOD. You want to ask questions, you ask me. And instead he points at an admiral and says, well, that's the guy that flipped the switch, but I really want you to know I'm behind.
Well, if I could say something down on that, because I agree with everything Tom just said, because that's leadership. But I'll go one step further and say, Hegseth admitted that he watched the strike. He watched it. So, I mean, if I'm a commander and, I see something questionable, and this isn't even in the questionable range. If the film shows that this happened the way it was described, it was a war crime. There is a Department of Defense manual that actually uses this kind of strike or killing people who have floundered after a boat has been struck as an example of a war crime. It is the premier example. And Tom pointed out in his article about the U-boat in World War II and several other instances that happened. It's a crime. You're killing human beings. So even if you say, well, he flipped the switch and I was just standing over here watching. Okay, great. You were watching and you didn't do anything about it? Seriously? That's just beyond the pale.
So listen,
Mark,
can I just wait? Can I weigh in real quick, Tom? Because I want both of you to respond to this, and I want to make sure that I get it in the time that you're here. So thank you so much. Congress is reacting. All right. So then there are both Republicans and Democrats. They're alarmed. They know what this means for the United States on a global stage. They know what it means for the rule of law, and they know what it means when our leaders are willing to carry out an operation that violates the very standards that we accuse other nations of breaking. This is what GOP Senator Jim Justice said. If a second strike was ordered, kind of alluding to what you said, General, that seems way over the edge to me. Justice said that he was operating with limited information and didn't know what the White House confirmed Monday, a second strike had occurred. I don't see how that's acceptable, he said. Asked whether the strikes would change his view on Hegseth, the West Virginia Republican said, I frankly think the world of Pete. I think he's a good guy, but added, in that situation, if he made that decision, I think he made a bad decision. Now, here's Senator Lisa Murkowski.
I ask you about the boat strikes, the Washington Post reporting, your thoughts on that, if you think that they went too far, any concern with that conduct?
I have spoken out, I think through my support for the Kane resolution twice already. So yes, I have concerns, absolutely.
Can we talk about the Washington Post story in particular? There are some folks who say that Hegseth and the commander who ordered the strike are liable for war crimes. Is that your interpretation?
I think you're talking about the second strike.
That's right.
Yeah. I think it certainly raises that concern. When you have individuals that are literally in the water, not the threat that they had initially presented, perhaps. So, yes, I have expressed the concerns and continue to have them. So thank you.
With war crimes specifically for that act, for the second strike?
I think what we have heard shocked us all. And I think most would say that when you have two individuals that are literally floating in the water, a second order to kill them all is not something that we would consider within the rules of war.
Got it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Senator.
Thanks.
So, Tom and General, these are not liberal lefties, people you can call woke, who are speaking out about this. They are, they're in a world of trouble, I believe. Tom,
but there was one thing I wanted to kind of throw to Mark here about, because I think one of the kind of shifty things they're doing is they're implying that a 4-star admiral would have done this on his own initiative, and somehow the Secretary of Defense was just out of that loop. And, you have a 3-star sitting right here. I cannot imagine a 4-star saying, you know what, we've hit it. There's some guys in the water. On my own initiative and without the involvement of the secretary, I'm just going to hit it again. That is not, Mark can tell you, that is not how these things get done. There is no way that Pete Hegseth was out of that loop. And I think everybody that you're talking to, all these members of Congress, this is the problem of cowardice in the age of Trump. Justice and Murkowski, all of them, they all know what happened. They get it. And they've got to kind of tiptoe around it now until somebody's the first to say, he's got to go. But I really felt strongly that this evolving narrative of, well, Admiral Bradley would have taken this on himself, because Hegseth may not understand the laws of war, but Mark Hertling and Mitch Bradley and people at that level, that they've had that drilled into them. They've had it infused into their DNA at that level of command. And so I just
General,
wanted to get that
I know that
there.
you have to go. You can respond if you need to go, you can, but you're free to respond.
No, I can stay a little while longer.
Okay.
But Don, if I could, the Chiron that you have up, I don't think I said he should be fired. I want him investigated. If the investigation shows that he was culpable in this, and I think he was, then something should happen to him. Firing is the least thing that should happen to Secretary Hegseth, in my view. So that Chiron is wrong.
Change it to he should be investigated. Thank you, General.
Here's the thing, though. I'm going to talk about what Tom just said and throw another beat into this. And that's the implication of others. Mitch Bradley, at the time of the strike in September, was a 3-star admiral at the time. He was the JSOC commander. He reported to another guy, an Army general, 4-star, by the name of Brian Felton, who was the SOCOM commander. Now, I know I'm going to confuse some people here, except for Tom, because he knows this in the ranks, but we've forgotten that part. So the JSOC commander, Mitch Bradley, 3-star, reports to 4-star Brian Felton, a Army general, and you have another Navy admiral who's the commander of Southcom, who has what's called the area of operation. So whenever JSOC acts in an area, whenever the special operations come into an area, and I had this in my area in Iraq, they report to what's called the ground force commander, which is me, or in this case, Admiral Halsey. So you have 3 people at the 3- and 4-star ranks who would have had to have known that these kind of strikes were going on. At the same time, you have Admiral Halsey Hegseth basically says he's put in his retirement papers. Now, when I first heard this, and Tom can reinforce this, so this is a 4-star admiral who's been in the job for 9 months as a 4-star, which means if he's putting in his retirement papers, he's not going to retire as a 4-star. Yeah. So that's a pretty big deal in and of itself. So something went on where you've got a 4-star admiral and a 4-star general knowing what's happening with this JSOC commander, and Hegseth doesn't know? Come on, give me a break.
General, where does this go?
That's a big deal to say, I'm going to give up my 4th star.
Yeah.
Just to get out of this.
So where does it go? It's going to be probably the most shocking investigation since probably the Doolittle trials or I'm sorry, the Hap Arnold trials, or whatever trials those were. Tom knows this better than I do.
Abu Ghraib or something.
Yeah, Abu Ghraib, or even My Lai. You're going to have a bunch of senior ranking officers testifying, and you're also going to have a bunch of junior staff officers. And what I'd say, one other thing, is somebody pulled that trigger. If that was, it doesn't appear to me to be a drone strike. I may be wrong, but if they're saying it was a missile shot from the island of Trinidad, that tells me it was a laser guided missile, and you had a laser spot from that UAV or aircraft that we see the film of. If you have another laser guided missile coming into that site to hit that boat a second time, you have to have video of it, because you have to paint the ship with a laser from another location. So there are films, there are audios, and there are probably, unless they've been destroyed, and there are a lot of senior officers who know exactly what happened.
Can Trump protect him from this, if this turns out to be true?
Well, the only thing I'd say is we hearken back to when Secretary Hegseth was Mr. Hegseth on Fox News, and he persuaded President Trump in the first term to give pardons to 2 war criminals who had killed local citizens and had been reported on by their fellow soldiers. So are pardons in the mix here? Yeah. But would that further divide something that we call the civil military relationships? Oh, absolutely. One of the big things that I think we're experiencing now is an institutional attack on the U.S. military, just like there's been attacks on other government institutions.
Yeah. General, I'll make sure that Tom gives you your money. I'm going to twist his arm. Thank you, General. Tom and I'll finish up here. We'll see you next time. Tom, you heard what he said. Good to see both of you. Thank you so much, General. Thank you. Tom, you heard what the General said there. He thinks that, look, there are serious consequences. He can be in serious trouble, but, probably a pardon. I don't know. What do you think?
I think that's exactly what will happen. I think if Hegseth really gets into some deep kimchi here, he'll get a pardon. I mean, Trump hands them out like breath mints. So I'm sorry. I know I had a long argument on social media with people last night about, well, maybe the ICC can step in or what. Folks, I'm sorry. I don't want to be the Dr. Buzzkill and grumpy uncle here. None of that's going to happen. Pete Hegseth, as I said yesterday on TV, Mark, I did the same kind of rounds Mark did, and I said, look, the biggest punishment for Pete Hegseth is that he'll step down and he'll have to go back to being Pete Hegseth. But Trump's not going to let him go to jail. Nobody's going to hand him over to some foreign, entity. The people that will pay are the people who always pay in a scandal like this. They're going to be 2 or 3 levels down. There will be ruined careers. Even if people are pardoned, their careers will be shot. And the damage to I think Mark, really want to foot stomp Mark's point here. The damage to the civil military relationship will be deep, because Americans really trust their military, and they trust them not to do stuff like this.
And boy, oh boy, oh boy. Look, I don't even know what to say, because we all lose with this, Tom. And as I believe that, once you start to cross that line, it blurs. And as I said, and then I think that line is
we
gone.
can survive this, though. We survived,
of course.
Brought up My Lai, where the country was convulsed by a trial. I mean, remember that it's in my lifetime. I was a little boy when this happened, and I remember it, that a group of American soldiers walked into a village and wiped out everybody.
Yeah.
In a ghastly stain on the history of the U.S. military. And we got past that. I mean, Calley went to jail. Nixon sprung him, by the way. Nixon commuted his sentence and got him out. He didn't think Calley should be in jail. And Calley just passed away, by the way, recently. He spent his life working in a jewelry store. So we are capable of healing from this. But what is different about My Lai is that the responsibility got up to the level of like captains and majors. This is like the Secretary of Defense ordering this kind of stuff. That's what's really going to be the problem here. We don't expect that kind of corruption and loss of control to go all the way up to the top.
Make no mistake, though, this is Donald Trump's fault because he put him in that position.
And the Senate that didn't have the courage. I mean, Hegseth was confirmed by one tie-breaking vote by J.D. Vance. All it would have taken is one Republican senator to say, I'm not going to do this.
And Lisa Murkowski is not what I think she's independent now or whatever, but Lisa Murkowski could have, and also I think Cory Booker also voted.
I don't remember how Murkowski voted, but there were people that had real concerns about it. People like Tom Tillis and others. I mean, it shouldn't have even been close. Let's put it that way. There shouldn't have even been a question about whether there would have to be a tiebreaker. There should have been responsible adults in the Republican Party, and they knew that this would. They said, but you know what? I don't want to cross Trump.
But you know what? It's right. It's saying that she voted no. So may I stand corrected if that's right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But it would have taken a few more, and it should have been. Actually, the way of really what happens in the Senate, my old stomping grounds where I used to work, is that a nomination like this shouldn't have even gotten there. Somebody should have gone over to the White House and said, Mr. President, this guy is DOA. Don't even think about it.
Tom, thank you. Always a pleasure. I don't want to keep you longer than I have to, but we missed Lily. We like Lily.
I will bring Lily the next time, I promise.
And I promised a general that I would get his money. Don't make me look bad. Don't make me go back.
All right. Take care, Don.
Thank you, Tom Nichols. Great article. Tom Nichols put up his report. This is a report from The Atlantic. It is a fantastic report. Pete Hegseth needs to go, and he needs to go now. So understand what the general said. He said he needs to be fired. I did ask him, do you think he's right? And he said, if this proves to be true, he said yes, but he said, but he needs to be investigated. So there you go. I thought it was a fantastic panel to get such powerhouses. Where else are you going to get that? Okay. Where else are you going to get that? And speaking so casually, not, some buttoned up thing where everyone's watching what they have to say. Those gentlemen were very, very candid there. Remember, if this had happened, he mentioned Eli. If this had happened, Tom did, which was 1968, I believe, in March of 1968, someone walked into the My Lai village, a group of American soldiers, and just started, killing people. But if this had happened under a foreign government, we would be calling for accountability. We'd be drafting resolutions. We would be demanding justice right now. But this happened under our flag. This is our chain of command, under the direction of a man, as Tom said, who has no business holding that level of power, our own defense secretary. So where do we go from here? Start with the truth, with the investigation. We start with transparency. It doesn't look like you're going to get it from the Trump administration. You start with the tapes, the communications, the orders, the drone footage, the legal memos, the real timeline here. Start with the facts that have been kept from the public. You start with the accountability that this country deserves, not the blame shifting, not the finger pointing, not the loyalist spin. We start with the reality that Pete Hegseth needs to go. That's what needs to happen. If you want to know anything about the show, you can go to donlemon.com. Find out everything. Hey guys, don't back off on the subscriptions. We need it. If you are not subscribed to this program, then you need to. Yes, 1 million. You see that right there? That's our one. Let me go grab this real quick before I get out of here. Because this is you guys don't realize how huge this is. By the way, I'm wearing, you guys probably can't even hear me. I'm wearing my Heat Holders sweatpants. Okay. So this is a very big deal. This is a very, very, very big deal. Okay. And it shows that you get to, there we go. That's a big deal. Presented to the Don Lemon Show for passing 100,000 subscribers. Presented to the Don Lemon Show for passing 100,000 subscribers. I mean, excuse me, 1 million. We have the 100,000 over there. Stand by. I know I got to go. I have to tape something. I know I got to go. I think the next one is like 10 million or something. What's the next one? I think the next one is 10 million.
It's 10 million, yes.
Okay, so this was the first one we got. That was 100,000. Do you guys remember when we got this?
Yeah.
I think it was before a year. Was it like before? I don't remember.
We're still back in the
pretty early
studio.
on.
And then this is pretty quick for 1 million. So that's a big deal. Okay. I carried this through the airport because we did it when we reached 1 million. That happened when I was away. And the guy saw it. I said, "This isn't a laptop in my backpack, in my bag. It looks like a laptop, but it's not." And he looked at it and he goes, "Oh, yeah. Hey, it's you." And I said, "Yes, it is me." And he said, "Congratulations. I watched your show." So anyways, and they didn't check my bag because I told them what it was. So congratulations to us, and congratulations, meaning to you. Okay, guys, there you go. That is your $1 million. $1 million subscribers trophy, if you want to say, or plaque. So thank you, guys. You can go to donlemon.com. You can find everything you need to know. Please subscribe, become members. Thank you so much for your support, especially to people like Caring and Loving 2261. Thank you for exposing cover-up, and welcome back. I appreciate you. So, and all of the new members, welcome to all of our new members, and make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, the like. And also the second show at City Winery in Chicago, there's still tickets. It's at 11:30 on December 10th, okay? And then I have an announcement that we're going to make about New Year's Eve, and we'll either do it today or tomorrow, but you can still get tickets for our second showing in Chicago. Still tickets. Going to be one hell of a show. So guys, come. It's going to be great. Late night lounge, comedy, fun, questions, meet and greets, special guests, all of it. You're going to love it. It's great for the holidays. We'll be in community with each other. Thank you, Bobby T 1969, for your support as well. So thanks, everyone. I want you to be informed without being inundated until I see you back here at 5 p.m. Eastern time here on the Don Lemon Show on the Don Lemon channel. Turn the TV off. Bye. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a show. We're live every weekday at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern time with new clips dropping at 2 p. and 8 p. And if you want even more Don Lemon Show content, join the Lemon community. Members get exclusive posts, behind-the-scenes videos, and live chats just for you. So hit the join button or visit our channel page to sign up. Thanks again for all your love and your support, and I'll see you next time.